の鼓動が消えかかるそれがオレンジャー熱い血流れる鋼のマシン
Welcome to the Super Sentai Brothers. This is episode 18 of For Your Eyes Ohranger, the internet's best and only podcast dedicated to Chouriki Sentai Ohranger. Every week we watch an episode of the show and we share our thoughts with you, the listeners. My name is Matt J. With me as always is my co-host and brother Dave. Dave, how you doing today?
I'm awake.
Hey man, that's good.
Currently.
I mean, that's sort of table stakes for what we're doing here, but
Listen, Matt, I'm going to be in terms of like awakeness and alertness, I'm not. I don't bring a lot to the table these days.
okay. I mean,
Right
that's
now,
reasonable.
in this space that I live in. But I'm here.
All
I'm
right.
here, and I'm going to just do my best
Hey, man.
to come up with some quality goofs.
By the end of this episode, no one will be able to say that we have not produced an episode of the show. And I think that's true. And I think that we can count on that. And I think that that's a reasonable deliverable, Dave.
Yeah, no, I think
goals.
we can commit to producing an episode of this podcast that we make.
Okay. Well, speaking of that podcast that we make, Dave, what we do is we watch an episode of Chouriki Sentai Ohranger. Today is episode 18. It is called A Dad's Unusual Love. And it's, okay, I was going to say it's not as weird as it sounds. It's not weird in that way, but it is extremely weird. But before we get into
It's
that,
a
Dave,
very weird episode.
before we get to talking about the episode, Dave, shining in the heavens as ever, there are 5 stars. What is our first star of the week?
Well, Matt, another St. Patrick's Day has come and gone.
Yes, Dave, that big green day.
And, now listen, let me just say, I love the Irish. I don't
Sure.
want anybody to hear what the words that I'm about to say and think that I have beef with the proud sons and daughters of Erin. That's not the case.
No.
But St. Patrick's Day, guys.
Yeah, can we
Man,
chill?
Can we
Can we all just
chill?
have one day to chill? I mean, I guess we have all the other days in which we could chill. But boy,
I just listen, dude, and man, listen. I am susceptible to conviviality. I've been known to have a drink or two.
sure, listen.
Right?
And
I've even been in situations where I've had too many drinks, sometimes on purpose, sometimes not on purpose. Sometimes it just happens. I recognize that.
Sure.
Okay.
But Dave, in those occasions, have you ever started out your day by putting on your cartoonish drinking costume?
I will. Unless you count like a fraternity t-shirt, the answer is no, Matt. Okay.
Because I also, anyone who knows me knows that I love hanging out with friends.
I love hanging out with friends.
I love going out because I live alone, Dave, and it's nice
I
to
like
see
all
other
those
humans.
things.
And so I did go out yesterday. I went out on the St. Patrick's Day, and I thought I'm gonna go to my normal bar, and I'm just gonna sort of enjoy.
Matt, nah.
I'm going to enjoy the
dude.
comfort of friends. And also, it was right next to a grocery store, and I desperately needed to get some stuff for sandwiches.
Okay. Yes. Yeah.
And I poked my head in, and it was a neon war zone in there. And the thing is, okay, I'm going to call 10-15% of the people who were in there were wearing some sort of outlandish headgear. And here's what I got to know, Dave. To the people who own a St. Patrick's Day floppy 90s rave style top hat, or a plastic green bowler derby, or even, I don't know, 7 pounds of green Mardi Gras beads, are those things that you buy every year, or do you just open up the forbidden box once every March and break that stuff out and go to town?
I don't know. Yeah, I feel like it's probably got to be a mix. So let me relate to you a story. And this is just chill for a hot second, everybody, because this is an exchange that Beth and I overheard. we were behind. We were at Starbucks, and we were behind some people in line. And they said, it was 2 college students. They're like, oh, man, like, are you going to go to St. Patrick's Day? Like, oh, yeah, like, we're going to go for the parade. It's going to be great. And then one of them said, yeah, last year, I didn't get to do anything. Like, I didn't do anything for St. Patrick's Day because I had an exam. Like, it wasn't on a weekend, and I had an exam that day. Mm-hmm. And the other person said, oh, yeah. Like, that's super lame because by the time your exam is over, like, you can't do anything. And the person said, yeah, dude, like, my exam was over by 3, and then by the time I got back home, like, everybody was done. By 3 o'clock. By 3 o'clock in the afternoon, Matt.
Well, Dave,
just to be clear.
If you wake up at 10 in the morning and immediately start drinking beer...
Right.
Like,
by the time they were done with their exam at 3 o'clock, their other friends had partied so hard that, like, they were just done. They had partied out by 3 o'clock, which, like, first of all, amateur hour. Like, let me just say that.
Oh, sure. I mean, listen, I'm not
like,
trying to goad anybody
yourself
on here. Like, the whole point of this is that everyone needs to take a deep breath and sit down for 5 minutes and drink some water. But, like, for real, dudes, 3 p.m., come on.
Come on, yeah. So, like, let's just, like, can we just, like, collectively take a step back, like, at ourselves and just maybe, like, chill for, like, a second?
All I want is to take a year off of St. Patrick's Day. I want everyone to take a year off because here's the thing. Like bartenders make money on St. Patrick's Day, but they don't have fun. And the people...
Yeah,
and
no,
like,
that's
the
not, like, a great day for them.
Like, the people who are normally out in, like, a sort of regular, responsible capacity hate all of the other people who go out that day. And all of the people who go out that day who are the sort of, like, holiday drinkers, all they do is, like, injure themselves and have a very bad next day. I saw yesterday, Dave... I saw 2 people who were on crutches and 1 person who was getting pushed around in a chair, and I am pretty sure that those were all from St. Patrick's Day related injuries.
Man, I think we could only assume that is the case. But yeah, that's our plea to you. That's our call to America. Like, in everything else, crush it. Maybe
sure.
On St. Patrick's Day, like, stop crushing it a little bit.
Crush a little bit less of it, please.
Yeah. So what, Matt, is our second star of the week?
Dave, second star of the week is, I alluded to it earlier and actually mentioned it last week, but I am living alone again.
Yeah. Well, because Katie is in Japan now.
Yes,
so.
She is now officially in Tokyo. I talked to her a few days ago. She is enjoying things very nicely, sort of getting settled still. But I am sort of having to recalibrate to living alone. And Dave, I know that this is not something that you have done in some time.
It's not. No, it's not.
But as a single guy who has had a few roommates, like, you know, over the years, when one of those roommates leaves and you are left living by yourself, there is a period, there's like a week or 2 period where you just need to, like, really fully come to grips with the fact that there is not another person in your apartment. And this means a couple of things. It means, A, like, the things in your apartment that need to be cleaned, you can no longer maintain the fantasy that someone else is going to clean those things.
Oh, because maybe, yeah.
Yeah, like when 2 people live together, both of them can think, well, I could do like a deep clean of the shower this weekend, but maybe the other person is going to do it, and I won't have to. And I'm sure the other person is also thinking the same thing. But as soon as there's only one person, you're just a person living alone with a filthy shower. Like, and that's now entirely on you. So it's stuff like that, and it is also doing the post-roommate purge, most of which happens in the refrigerator. Because there are, again, those things where you look at and you're like, man, I don't want to eat that. And I'm pretty sure it might be too old. But
maybe they want it.
Might.
I don't want to...
Yeah, like maybe someone was saving that for
now
a recipe.
Listen, now I will say, I don't know about you, there are few things in life as pleasurable as, like, throwing out all the old food in your refrigerator. It's so great. So great. Like, it's amazing because then all of a sudden your fridge is clean.
Yes.
It's just clean. A clean fridge. God, I'm so old.
I don't want to celebrate food waste here, but I did throw out
no, that's not what I'm saying.
I did throw out 2 full grocery bags of things out of my refrigerator, like the day after Katie left.
You should feel a little bit bad about that,
Well, okay.
especially since I know for a fact that you guys ordered 4 pizzas last week. So
Okay, well, that's true. No, but most of it was sort of like large, mostly empty containers. You know, it's
okay.
That's
not as bad,
mustard that you didn't actually need to buy, and like there's just been 2 teaspoons of like ballpark mustard sitting in something for the last 8 months, or like a tablespoon of kimchi in a giant jar, or like there were some jars, Dave, that I looked at it and it looked like a jar of like bad old jam, and the side, like the sticker on the jar said grapefruit tea. And I just thought, you know what? This might still be good. I'm not going to explore it. This is done now.
No, man. No, you made the right decision. That's a sealed environment. That's a tiny terrarium now for horrifying bacteria. That's what that is. And you can safely throw it away.
And I did. And I threw all that stuff away, Dave, and it feels so good. It feels so good. There are a few remnants of things that I will eventually circle back on and throw away. You know, like the apple that I could have eaten last week, but I didn't, and so now it is past its prime. But it's not so far past its prime that I couldn't like bake with it. But I don't bake. But I can fool myself into baking. Or I can.
No,
I'm sorry.
You're not gonna listen.
I'm not going to fool
Matt,
myself
I've
into
known
baking.
you.
I can fool myself into believing that I'm going to bake for the express purpose of not walking outside to throw the apple away.
Yeah, Matt, I was going to say, listen, man, let me disabuse you of that notion. I've known you for 33 years, and if you haven't started baking now, one semi-moldy apple is not going to change anything.
I remember one time, Dave, this was years ago, when I was living upstairs from you, when we had sort of 2 apartments in the same house, and
I recall.
I was cleaning up my kitchen, and you were like upstairs hanging out with me for some reason or another, probably just because we're friends. I was just clearing out my kitchen and putting stuff away, and there were a couple of bananas that were in my kitchen that were they were past the point of eating bananas, but they were sort of in the range of like banana bread bananas. Again, I've never made banana bread.
Right.
I picked up these bananas and I opened the freezer and I thought, I said, I'm not going to throw these away. I'm just going to put them in the freezer. So that way later I can have, and you cut me off and said, freezer bananas forever. And you know what? I did put them in the freezer, and you were right, because I had to throw those bananas away when I moved.
Well, Matt, I know you. I fancy that I know you pretty well.
Anyway, so that has been my week. I did clean out the shower. Looks great. Got new curtains in there and everything. But Dave, what is our third star of the week?
So the third star of the week, Matt, is that Time's Winged Chariot hurries on.
Sure does.
It's the third. It sure does. It's the third quarter of school already, and I only mentioned that. Like, now we're in the 4th quarter. This is it. The school year is 3/4 over already, which is a very it's a weird experience, because being a teacher is a, like, how to say, it's a work year, and like the work year has like very clear delimitations, right?
Sure.
Like it starts on a particular day, and because of summer vacation, like it ends on a particular day, and then like, you know, in between there are specific things, and like the year itself is divided into quarters. Like, you know, there comes a time where it's like, oh yeah, and I know like the business world does that as well. But I don't know, like, unless you're involved in, like, particular elements of business, like, how much quarterly whatevers, like, matter to you.
Sure.
But, like, for me, like, when the quarter is over, like, I have stuff I have to do. Like, I have to enter grades and everything. And so it's very weird, because it's like, oh, yeah, it's, like, the 3rd quarter again. Like, the school year's almost over, and, like, all the seniors are going to graduate. And a year of my life is over now.
Right.
See, like, just there's another one.
That is the weird thing, because it is a school year and it is a work year, but it is also a literal actual year of your life.
Yeah, it is. And it's like this, it's this very strange thing. And it's also really weird for me, because again, like, I have seniors, right? And because I do drama, I will very frequently interact with the same kids, like, starting freshman year, and like, I will see or teach or interact with them like all 4 years of high school. You know what I mean?
Right.
And then they graduate and they leave. And it's a very weird sort of thing. Like, because for me, it's like, well, it's another year and like this year's seniors have graduated. And, like I will just show up I will show up next year and there will be new seniors and like there will be new freshmen and life will just continue. But like, I remember being a senior in high school and like when you graduated high school, it's like this huge deal.
Oh yeah.
You know what I
sure.
mean? Like you are stepping out into the world of college. Like, you're getting college if you went to college, you're getting college acceptance letters, like you're stepping out into the larger world, in a way on your own for the first time. And it's this like enormously monumental experience. And there's like parties and celebrations and all of these things. And as a teacher, it's like, oh yeah, see ya.
Guess it's June.
See you later. Congratulations. Great job. And then it's just like, I got to go back to work because like the next year's seniors are there. Yeah. So it's just this it's a very weird experience. And like, I know I've mentioned this before, but when you're a kid and people are like, the older you get, the faster time moves. I was like, sure, old man, I'm immortal and I'll live forever. I'm not like fearing my own death or anything, but it is weird. Like, man, time does move really quickly.
Yep.
Like, all of a sudden. Anyways, that's a weird thing. Time's Winged Chariot moves on. We're hurrying inevitably toward the heat death of the universe. So, that's
Sure, but
that's an inescapable
But in
truth.
the meantime, Dave, would you like to hear about our 4th star?
I sure would, Matt.
Our 4th star of the week is that I, on Friday night, went to go see stand-up
You would
comedian
know.
John Mulaney.
Oh,
Yeah.
nice.
It was if you have listened to his comedy at all, you might have already guessed this. It was very good, Dave.
Yeah, John Mulaney is a funny dude.
So the challenge for me now is that I am going to try to tell you about the evening, but the actual fun part of the evening was listening to all the good jokes. But I can't just tell you about the good jokes because there is nothing less entertaining than listening to one person badly recount the very funny thing that a professional said.
Yeah, I think we could safely avoid that one. Thank you.
So let me tell you a couple of observations of my night going to see John Mulaney. So he was actually supposed to have been in town a few months ago, but he got like stranded in New York City. He couldn't get on a plane, so they had to reschedule the show, which was great because when they did that, more tickets opened up and I was able to buy one because previously I had gotten the show was totally sold out. So I was very excited. I show up. I was actually going with some friends of mine. They had tickets from before, so we weren't sitting together. So we just we showed up together and then we split up.
Okay.
And the opener comes out, and his name was Max Silvestri, and he was also very funny. But here was the thing.
I feel like I've heard of that dude.
Okay. I also thought I had heard of him. And I spent the entire time he was telling his very good jokes. Like, he was also a very funny dude. He was telling his jokes, but I was only half paying attention and half trying to figure out where I knew this guy from. And eventually, right near the end of his set, I realized, I don't know Max Silvestri. I know Mark Silvestri, co-creator of Witchblade, The Darkness, and Cyberforce. One of the original Image guys.
Well, Matt, I did just while you were talking, I did a quick Google search for Max Silvestri, and it was like, do you mean Mark Silvestri? And I was like, I don't know, maybe Mark Silvestri. And yeah, I'm the Witchblade.
Yeah,
man, Witchblade? Really, Mark?
Hey, man.
Really?
Hey,
Witchblade?
Also made Cyberforce, I think.
Cyberforce, Mark? Really?
Hey, listen, it was the early
Cyberforce?
90s. Cyberforce is what we needed in the early 90s, Dave. It's what we needed, and it's what we deserved. Anyway, but it was very good. If you get a chance to watch him, you can now just know that fact about his name going in, so you don't have to worry about just being completely distracted for 10 minutes.
Thank you.
So here is
Thank you for that
the other observation I had while I was there is that this was a show at the State Theater downtown in Cleveland. Which, if you do not live in the area, it is one of the 3 big theaters downtown where when plays come through, that's where they are. It was not at a comedy club. But the thing is that growing up, the only comedy that I would see, other than like on like late night shows, was like Comedy Central presents like 1 hour specials, right?
Yes.
Where everybody was.
We watched a ton of those.
Oh yeah, we watched those like every Friday night because I think that's when it was on Comedy Central.
Yeah.
Back when you had to pay attention to when things were on. So
in the dark times.
So we watched that all the time.
Long ago.
And like. It took a while for me to realize, not only does not all comedy happen in a like big theater setting, most comedy does not happen in a big theater setting. And I have sort of, it took a while to sort of calibrate my brain to, like comedy is a thing that happens in bars and in comedy clubs and in stuff like that. Theaters are only for like big acts and like, it's sort of the rare thing. And so when I went to go see the show the other day, I realized that I had, despite the fact that that is what I thought comedy was when I was a kid, I had never actually gone to see a comedian in a big theater before.
Oh, okay.
And it was a very weird experience because it kind of felt like, because I was also like up on the mezzanine, so I wasn't like right up on it. And I had to keep remembering that I was there and I wasn't just watching it. Somewhere else?
No, I know exactly what you mean. A couple of years ago, Beth got me tickets to go see, we went and saw Eddie Izzard when he came through Cleveland.
Oh, yeah.
And I think he was actually also at the State, and it was a very similar sort of experience. Like, you have to remember, and like, because I don't go to a lot of live shows, so actually anytime I go to a live show, I do have to, in a way, remind myself that it is actually literally happening in front of me.
Yeah, I know.
Rather than it's a sort of surreal experience, actually. And I try not to think about it too hard because it kind of wigs me out.
I think when we went to go see Mystery Science Theater at that live show, we talked about this exact thing. But it was even worse at Mystery Science Theater because for most of the show, they literally left the stage and like stood behind the screen and made jokes while we watched a movie.
Yeah, that was also it was an odd thing.
Night, but you did really have to like kick yourself in the pants to remember like, they're actually up there doing the thing. Anyway, it was really good. If he comes through your town and the tickets have not already sold out, I recommend you go see them. That's all. Dave, what is our fifth and final star of the week?
So our fifth and final star of the week, Matt, is wait, Matt, something has just come across my desk. Matt, it's Baby Watch.
We interrupt your regular broadcast of the Super Sentai Brothers to bring you a breaking news update.
Baby Watch. So, first thing in Baby Watch, speaking of years like flying by, the baby's been with us almost a year now, which is pretty wild. Yeah, I know, right? It's in mid-April. So we're actually, it's about a month. So they've been with us 11 months, and it'll be a month. But still, it's crazy. But they are almost 16 months old now. They run around everywhere. They're climbing on everything. They
are terrors. I mean, adorable, but they are adorable terrors.
Adorable terrors, but like constant like low-grade heart attacks because they're like standing and about to pitch themselves off of something. They have got a bunch of words now. They each know like they recognize a lot more words than they use, but this is crazy. They have started to put together like rudimentary sentences.
Oh.
Okay. And so they will say, and they use like a mix of words, like half words. They're like baby words.
Sure.
Baby words and sign language because they know some sign language. But they will put together sentences. So they'll be like, they'll say they can't say cup. They don't do hard C's, but they say bup, right? Because they want something to drink. Mm-hmm. So they'll be like, they'll sign more, and then they'll say cup, and then they'll do please. Or they'll just be like, cup please more. Like, it's all kind of jumbled together. Or, this is pretty wild. So, the other day, Beth had Buddy Bear, and he was like, cup. And she was like, what do you want? But he had his cup in his hand, and there was water in it. And she said, what do you want? Do you want your cup? And he said, cup. And she said, well, do you want milk or water? And he was like, milk. Like, he doesn't actually say milk. I'm paraphrasing.
Sure.
Milk. But we happened to be out of milk. Like, I was picking some up on my way home from work that day. And she said, no, milk, milk's all gone. Like, there isn't any. And he was like, no more, like, no milk more. And then he started crying. Like, he put together, like, he understood her sentence, and he was very sad that there was no milk. It was super impressive. So, yeah, they're just exploding up. They're super, super cute. And that's it.
Yeah.
That's it.
Well, Dave, that is the update on your kids. We also need to soon find an update on the child of the evil mastermind, Genius Kuroda. And to do that, we've got to go watch episode 18, A Dad's Unusual Love. We're going to go do that, and we will be right back. Okay, welcome back. So, Dave, we've just finished watching this episode, of course.
Yes.
We didn't watch it before. Guys, we wouldn't lie to you. We only just watched it now.
Man, I'm not going to put my name to that.
Yeah, no, we actually...
That's on your soul. Don't do that, dude.
Yeah, sorry. No, we watched it beforehand. I am sorry for the momentary deception. But we're going to talk about it now. We can swear to that.
That is in proper order. We promise.
Okay. So let's do that thing, Dave. Let's move on away from my deceptions.
Yeah, okay. So, if you recall, Shigeru, the evil mastermind Genius Kuroda, his son, is a robot, which he didn't know. Kuroda knew. Shigeru, the robot himself, did not know.
Correct.
That he was a robot. So the Rangers were like, where is evil mastermind Genius Kuroda hiding? In his house, it turns out.
Yeah, he just literally went home.
Yeah, that's it. They didn't... I'm not sure. They didn't think to check there, first of all. So we see evil mastermind Genius Kuroda, and he is operating, I guess. He's working. He's working on Shigeru. And Shigeru is like, am I a robot?
Dad, why am I a robot?
Yeah, dude, you 100% are a robot. And he's like, what? And he asks, he's like, what's going on? So, because we're not clear yet as to, like, what is Shigeru, like, has he grown up? Like, was he just built and, like, what? We don't know. So here's what we find out. There was a biological Shigeru.
Yes.
Who died. He was hit by a car.
Yeah, which we get a little flashback sequence of this child about to be hit by a car. And it's like, hey kids, here's your fun superhero show. Here's footage of a child about to be run down by a truck.
Yeah, and so Kuroda is telling him this, and he's like, there was a biological Shigeru. He died. You are a computer imprint of that biological child. And he says, and I guess he says this by way of, like, don't feel bad. And he says, but you are more important. I care about you more than I ever cared about the biological Shigeru because he was so fragile and he died. And so did my wife, which, like, okay, now we sort of are getting, maybe we're getting a little peek behind the curtain of evil mastermind Genius Kuroda.
Yeah.
It's a little bit raw.
It is. It's like, hey, all of
Cockaranger?
Like all of my
not Cockaranger, Ohranger.
Like, all of my family members are dying. Humans are too frail. So what I've done is I've recreated you as a robot. And now you can be 100 times stronger than humans. And also, I can put a bunch of weapons in you.
Right. You're as strong as 10 gorillas.
And Shigeru's like, I do not want lasers in my face, like, dude.
I'm good, dude. I don't need that. And he's like, no. Trust me, the Robo-san. It's the best. This is why. He's like, this is why I'm pro-paranoia, because we'll just, everybody will be robots. It'll be great.
Now, this here is the most irrealistic thing part about the episode, which is like, if I was 10 and someone said, like, hey, like, yes or no, do you want lasers to be able to come out of your face? The answer would obviously be yes. Like, sure, I would be sad to find out that, like, I was a robot based on a dead human, but, like, face lasers, dude. That's a silver lining.
I will say, Shigeru, like, seems to maybe be upset, but we're going to see later in the episode. He handles this, what has got to be pretty devastating existential crisis, with a remarkable degree of calmness. He's incredibly sanguine about this whole thing. So we see the Rangers, and they're in front of the fun farm. They haven't even left the fun farm. To be clear, it's not like they left chasing evil mastermind genius Kuroda. We're like, where did he possibly escape to? They're literally like 50 feet away from where the last episode ended. And they're just like, we don't know where he is.
Yeah.
And so...
and they say, well, he must be on the other side of this mountain. And so instead of, I don't know, getting in a helicopter or summoning their giant robots that can fly or any of these other things, they just get in a cable car and are just... I think just because they had not yet shown us that... what's this place called, Dave? Something Family Farm? Rindu Lake?
Yeah, dang, I can't remember all of a sudden.
Rindo
but yeah,
Lake.
the Family
They
Fun
had not
Farm.
yet shown us that Rindo Lake Family Farm had cable cars, and so they needed to squeeze that into the episode.
So, we go from there up to the moon. And Kuroda is now... Oh, no, I'm sorry. And they see, like, a Baranoia transport ship come down. Mm-hmm. And they're like, oh, it's Baranoia. And we don't know... They don't explain this, but presumably the transport ship is there to pick up Kuroda, because the next scene is that... Evil Genius Mastermind Kuroda, sorry.
Yeah.
Is that we see Evil Mastermind Genius Kuroda on the moon. And he is talking to Emperor Bacchus Wrath. And he says, listen, he's like, I'm on your side, man. You and me. Bacchus Wrath and Kuroda. I hate people. I'm pro-robot. Let's talk.
Yeah. And Bacchus Wrath says, dude, like, no, you are a human. I don't know if you've caught on to this yet, but I do hate humans. And, like, you have nothing to offer me. I already have everything I need up here. So I'm just going to keep throwing robots at Earth and, take this guy off to the scrapyard to kill him. Because they're not used to having organic things around that they have to kill. So it's like, oh, take him to the junkyard and leave his body
done
there.
That right there, man. Yeah. So Kuroda says, no. He says, first of all, I have a foolproof... As he's getting dragged away, he says, I have a plan to destroy the O'Rangers, and I do have something you don't have. I have something you don't have. I have the power of hatred. The power of hatred. I hate humans because they're so weak. And he says, and then also things are gonna get real intense here for a second.
Oh yeah.
Kuroda says, I hate God for making humans so weak and like fragile.
And he hates
I hate humans
for worshiping God because they should hate him also for making them so fragile.
And he says machines should destroy all the humans and rule Earth in the place of God.
Yeah, Kuroda is... Man, this is a dude who spends way too much time alone. Like...
Yeah. Yes. Yeah, he does.
You know how you get mad at one thing, and then if you don't get distracted from being mad at that thing, you can sort of take yourself down a path? Like, this dude has been down that path for a couple of years.
Yeah, so we... we go from there to the Rangers, and we go back to the Rangers, and they are back at Rindo Lake Family Fun Farm.
Oh, no,
and the chief is there.
They are at the evil mastermind Genius Kuroda's house because they find Shigeru there, and they're like, "Hey, dude, where's your dad?" They're like, "Oh yeah, he went off with Baranoia."
They're about to get there. They're about to get there because the chief shows up at the front gate, and they're like, "Hey, chief, we found this data, and it's a 5-inch floppy, Matt." And it took me like a half a second
to figure out
what they were like waving around in their hands. And I was like, oh my gosh, it's a 5-inch floppy disk. I haven't seen, since like the 90s, right?
Yeah.
Which is when the show was
That's the thing.
made,
It wasn't even the 3.5-inch. It was the full 5.
It was the big 5-incher. That was a weird sentence to have said.
But yeah, so they found this in Kuroda's house, and they have delivered it now to the chief.
Oh, that's right. They were already in that, but Shigeru is still there, and they're like, why would he leave Shigeru? Like, that doesn't, like, that's very weird. Like, that doesn't make sense to me. Why would he leave the kid there? And then we flip over and we see it's Shohei and Momo, and they're with Shigeru, and they're sort of talking to him. And he's like, it's really weird. Like, I know I'm a robot. because I've seen like my Robo Guts or whatever. But like I remember all of these experiences that I had with my dad here at Rindo Lake Family Fun Farm, and we get like a flashback sequence.
Sure, all of our fun times on the paddle boats, in the go-karts, like
on the pony ride.
All of the fun things that you could do here at Rindo Lake Family Farm.
I'm sure that there's like a theme song, and I really wish that I knew it so I could be stinging that in here. But what are you gonna do? So again, he is handling this existential crisis with incredible sanguinity. Like he's weirded out by it, but he's like, this is odd.
How strange.
He's not
My
like,
life is
I don't know. I mean, I
I'm
guess
a
he's
killer
approaching
robot.
it. Right. I mean, I guess he's just approaching it with robot like logic. Maybe evil mastermind genius Kuroda just didn't program in too many emotions. But anyways, then they're attacked by giant metal tentacles.
Yes, they like spring out of the ground.
Yeah, it turns out they're not tentacles, they are vines. They're huge, they're gigantic metal vines. And there's a brief attack. We don't really see how it ends, but we flip over to the other Rangers and we hear like a distress call coming into them. So like they rush over, the team arrives, so it's now the other Rangers are there, but Shoei and Momo are gone. But
Yes,
Shigeru is still there.
Dragged underground by these vines.
Yeah, it's super cool, actually. So Yuji just says, like, how could they have let themselves be taken? It's like, listen, Yuji, they didn't just, like, chill and let it happen. I think you know your teammates well enough, you could assume they probably fought back, bud.
Yeah,
I just feel like that demonstrates, like, a real lack of faith in your squad.
So they get a call from the chief, and they say, hey, here's what's up. I was looking at this 5-inch floppy disk that you brought me, and on it are the blueprints for Shigeru.
Just an astonishing amount of data.
And he's like, and here's what's up. That dude's definitely got face lasers.
Right. He has 100 times the strength of a human and face. And he's just loaded with weapons.
Yeah.
He has so many weapons in his tiny, tiny body. Like, you literally wouldn't believe how many weapons are in this kid.
And so, like, they are sort of trying to figure this out. And when they're doing this, a tentacle pops out and grabs Juri, like, wraps her up, and drags her up into, up into a crane shot where the camera is above them. It's actually a very cool shot.
It's a cool shot.
Man, I feel like I talk a lot in this show about cool camera work. I wonder, like, who the person responsible for that was in this show.
Yeah, I'm not sure, but it is definitely I feel like a step up in many ways. Like, there's some stuff that you see a lot, like cool, like good angle work to sell the the giantness of robots and stuff. But I feel like Ohranger is doing a lot of not like incredibly innovative stuff, but like for a Saturday morning kids show, pretty intense, like big crane shots.
Yeah, they're
and
doing
like
more than they
Journey's
have to.
hanging there and stuff. So that's cool. So then Shigeru transforms. Well, his head transforms.
Yes.
His head transforms into a robot head,
Which
and he blasts eye lasers.
It kind of looks like the head out of like an old Metal Hero show. If you've ever gotten into a weird tokusatsu like Wikipedia hole and know what that looks like.
No, I have. I was thinking kind of looks like Ultraman a little bit.
A little bit like Ultraman.
He also a little bit looks like the robot heads from the music video for Domo Arigato, Mr. Roboto.
Well, there you go as well.
So,
now, the interesting thing is that only his head changes. His body is still the body of a young boy in a striped polo shirt.
Yeah, so that's weird. But, listen, full-body robot suits are expensive. If you're just going to do a head, then it's less, less expensive.
Sure.
So he blasts them with lasers. And they're like, Shigeru, like, what are you doing? Why are you attacking us? And they see, like, they look up and they see on the giant, like, the metallic vine that there's, like, a transponder or something. And it's beeping, and then, like, there's a light on Shigeru that's beeping. And they're like, oh, it must be, like, evil mastermind genius Kuroda is doing this remotely somehow.
Mm-hmm. The vine then drags Juri away. And Shigeru... Is it Shigeru or Shigeru? This has been bothering me all episode, and I'm genuinely not sure.
I think it's Shigeru.
In any case...
I mean, I'm not I'm certainly not an expert.
This robot kid.
This
this
robot boy.
And it is now only Goro and Yuji who are like free and still able to try to hunt down the rest of them.
Yeah, so they are. I don't exactly know what they're supposed to be following. They're just sort of following something. So they go up a mountain and then they find a cave. Their instincts, I guess.
Sure.
So they go up, they find a cave, they walk into the cave. It's a trap. Obviously it's a trap.
And inside is the evil mastermind, genius, Kuroda. But he is no longer just that stuff.
Yeah, and boy, howdy, is it a weird visual.
If you like X-Men comic books, then the easiest way to describe this is that this Joker has gone.
Oh wait, Matt, can I just say?
Cameron
Can I say?
Hodge.
You said it before I was. That was going to be what my guess was, though. No, it's okay.
Is that
he's gone full Cameron
in your
Hodge.
Notes?
It isn't, but as soon as you said X-Men, I was like, oh yeah, he went full Cameron Hodge.
Yeah, because
he is a human. He's a human face
with his glasses on still, I think.
With glasses on still, attached to like a weird.
Maybe he's not. I forget.
Tentacled. It's ivy. It's vines.
It's like a techno-organic
sort of like,
vine thing. Like it genuinely does look like he has like infected himself with the techno-organic virus in an attempt to join the technarchy.
Yeah, he is also, and so he's like encased in this thing, but then also Shigeru is like also built into it, but we only see Shigeru's head. And then he's like, I've merged with Shigeru, now we can be together forever, which is like, listen, Kuroda, I recognize that you've had some real difficulty going through the mourning, grieving process. What you're doing now is not healthy. This is not a healthy way to deal with grief.
No, you should when you're grieving the loss of a close friend or family member. There's a lot of things that you can do. There's
a lot of things that you should do. Reach out
to people who who you love. Maybe go seek counseling. Stuff like that.
Yeah, maybe involve yourself in a cause that was dear to the person that you've lost.
Sure.
And so honor their memory in that way. What you should not do is create a robotic replica / warrior bot in the shape of that loved one, and then implant their memories into it, and then sell your soul to an intergalactic robot empire for the power to physically merge with the robot simulacrum that you have created of your lost loved one. That's not one of the steps of the grieving process. Don't do that thing. So Evil Mastermind Genius Kuroda is like, he's like attacking the Rangers with his robo vines, and he's also activating Shigeru's like eye blasts, and he also has like a flamethrower mouth.
Oh, which is hilarious because there's this little like spout that comes out of Shigeru's mouth, and then flame comes out of it, and every time he does it, it makes it look like he's a little baby smoking robot. He's just got like a tiny robo cigarette.
And so Goro, he's being attacked, and he's like, "Can't you see how this is hurting Shigeru?" And it's like, Goro, I get what you're trying to say, but Shigeru is dead. This is a robot. This is a warrior bot replication of Shigeru.
But it does contain basically Shigeru's brain.
Yeah, so that's a whole weird ethical question that you've raised for us, Evil Mastermind Genius Kuroda.
Right, because then, I think it's Jury is saying, listen, your body is robot, but, in there, you are still Shigeru. You have, the mind and heart of a human.
You need to... So she's addressing Shigeru, and she's like, you need to fight back and, stop doing this. And Robo Shigeru does fight back. He stops doing his eye lasers, and his, flamethrower mouth, retracts. And he cries some robo tears.
Yes, you will believe that even an android could cry.
Yeah, oh, nice cut. Single robo tear. And then he frees the Rangers. He does something. I'm not exactly sure what.
I think he uses his eye lasers to zap the vines.
Oh, that's that's right. And then he teleports away / and at the same time reverts back to his human form. Okay. Oh, by the way, Bacchus Wrath is watching all of this. He's like, this might actually work out pretty well. This Kuroda guy has a real heart of a robot,
I guess.
But then Shigeru like frees the Rangers and he's fine. And Kuroda's like, I'll destroy you, Rangers. And then Bacchus Wrath is like, we see him and he's like, nah, this was a giant waste of time. This actually was a terrible plan. And then he just says, Bara Ivy. And this is wild.
Yeah, I did not expect this even a little bit.
Yeah, so it turns out they did sort of turn Kuroda into a robot, but they kind of tricked him.
Yeah,
because
they did not trust him to operate on himself, or operate by himself, rather.
He thought he was running this whole show. Turns out that, like, what they did is they semi-merged him with a different Robeast, and which is Bara Ivy.
Dave.
Sure, whatever. I patently refuse to make that distinction. And so Bara Ivy has been sort of like riding shotgun on this whole thing. And then as soon as Bacchus Wrath is like, nah, this is a dumb plan, Bara Ivy is out. Now, Evil Mastermind Genius Kuroda does still have some, like, robo parts, because he does manage to, like, get off a few eye blasts.
Yeah, he's got, like, lasers that come out of him. But then he sort of, seeing this whole thing, that Bacchus Wrath has betrayed him, that his son, like, wants to be free of this, that the Rangers are trying to help his son. They're like, he says, you guys go, I will try to hold off Bara Ivy for a minute. And they have, like, a weird robot fight that doesn't last very long.
Yeah, it's like just they like kind of blast back and forth a little bit. Evil Genius Mastermind Kuroda, whatever. He doesn't have quite the firepower of Bara Ivy, so like he gets a couple of shots off, and then Bara Ivy like just crushes. And the vines, the giant vines, those are all Bara Ivy.
Yeah.
So Evil Mastermind Genius Kuroda dies. He's dead, as far as we know. And then the fight, they kind of take the fight outside. From there, it's fun because Bara Ivy does have these like giant vines that they do some cool stuff to show him like whipping around. And,
and like Bara Ivy and his vines can each like burrow through the ground and pop out other places.
Yeah, so like that was fairly cool.
A couple of other cool camera bits where like the camera will be focused on one of the Ohrangers fighting. And then you will realize that the camera is zoomed way in because it zooms back, and there is another person fighting like much closer to the camera.
Yeah. So but aside from that, as far as like plot, it's a pretty straightforward. Like they fight, they do the Big Bang Buster. He goes down. Achin Kocha shows up. He becomes giant. They summon their O-Robo. They fight for a second, Crown Final crashed, and then like that's the end of Bara Ivy.
Although there was one bit in there where I was thinking about it, because even when he's giant, Bara Ivy has this ability to like burrow through the ground. But he's not the size of a person anymore. He's the size of like a large office building. And so the idea of something that large, just like quick burrowing underground and popping up, like that's got to cause some serious like topographical problems.
Yeah, well, you know, they're out there like out in a quarry mountain. So if anything, he's actually kind of doing them a favor, if you think about it.
Maybe that's why there are so many quarries in Super Sentai, is all of these fights out in what start off as a forest, just like clear the area and break up the ground. Like, well, I mean, there's a lot of good rocks out there. Should probably go collect them.
Yeah, man, so much good rock. Okay, so at the end of that fight, everybody's kind of like down in human form again, and they find Shigeru, and he looks up at Goro and he's like, "Hey, mister," which at first is weird because you know his name is Goro. He's like, this is it, isn't it? And Goro's like, "Oh, like Shigeru, no."
He's like, my dad's dead, right? It's like, yeah,
my dad's dead,
your
right?
dad is dead.
Yeah, he's like, yeah, sorry, bud. He's like, "Oh, Rangers, like, thank you so much for like being there for me." And then he like Shigeru dies, and the Rangers are like, "Shigeru, no!" You know, like
our
they're
best
very
friend.
upset that this little boy's died. And then the chief rolls up and he's like, "There's like Rangers." They're like, "Yeah, chief." He's like, "Shigeru is a robot. He's not dead. You could We can just fix him. It's fine. Like I will take care of it personally after I have removed all the weapons from his body.
Yes, I am 100% doing that. But then I could just, put a new battery in him and like solder some stuff. It'll be good.
Right, like we can just, he's a robot. It'll be fine. It was great because I also was like, oh geez, man, Shigeru died. It's like, oh wait, no, he is a robot. It's okay. And then the next shot that we see is he's fine. He's like on a bike and at Rindo Lake Family Fun Farm.
Yeah.
He's like on a bike and all the rangers are there and they're like rolling around having fun. And then that's it. That's where the episode ends.
Okay, Dave, that's the end of the episode. But before we get into our closing segment, I have a question for you about Shigeru.
Hit me. Okay.
Do you think we're going to see him again? Because I feel like the answer to that is probably no. But
I feel like we should.
Like if we don't see him
it would be cool
again,
if we did.
Like, yeah, it is sad that child had died and that the robot simulacrum of him had been, like, damaged and shut down. But, like, now he's just a tiny robot orphan boy? So, like, if we continue to see him, that's cool. Like, he just, like, hangs around the base and they become his new family or whatever. Like, that's great. If we don't continue to see him, then we just have to assume that they repaired this little orphan boy, removed all of his defenses, and sent him out into the world.
No, okay. Now, see, I would say, if we are to assume anything, is that he is in the base somewhere. Like, he is,
Maybe. Yeah, that's
he
probably
is,
for the
he is
best.
operating in the auspices of the Ohranger program.
Okay, I can feel a little more comfortable about that, Dave. But now, as previously alluded to, we need to figure out where. I guess Bara Ivy falls on the Creature Royale? Is that who we're putting up, or are we putting up the evil mastermind Genius Kuroda?
Well, okay. Man, I don't know.
Because
I feel
they were
like
both monsters.
evil
Like,
mastermind Genius Kuroda. Yeah, I feel like he needs to be on there. I feel like we ought to do them separately, to be honest.
Okay.
Well, because, like, okay, evil mastermind Genius Kuroda is actually, like, a pretty fun villain.
Yes.
I am thinking he is in... I mean, my obvious touch point for him is Dr. Yagami.
And where is Dr. Yagami?
Dr. Yagami is actually spot number 24, so he's pretty high on the list. I'm torn. I feel like I like them both a lot in very different ways. And I don't know if I like one better than the other.
I'm going to say that I like Dr. Yagami more, if only because he wasn't just a freak of the week. Like, he was a dude that they had to contend with, like, pretty regularly throughout a good portion of that season.
Yeah, so if we're looking at Dr. Yagami as the cap on that, well, I tell you what. What about if we go down a couple of spots on the list? There's Iron Mask Choryu, which I feel like, Iron Mask Choryu was in a way like also kind of a freak of the week monster. He wasn't around for like a really long time. He had an impact on the story, obviously.
He was a conflicted dad who turned evil.
He's a conflicted dad, yeah. So as I am, so I'm much more comfortable putting him in and around that space of Iron Mask Choryu, but I don't think I like him as much as I like Iron Mask Choryu.
Okay, do you like him? Right below Iron Mask Choryu is Meteor Bem. Do you like him more or less than Meteor Bem?
I think I like him more than Meteor Bem. And then I'm seeing like Sauragami the Ninja Monkey, Bara Darts, Omukata the Football Centipede, and I do like him more than those guys.
Okay.
So I would say right underneath Iron Mask Choryu.
All right, that works for me.
Okay, so then the question is where does Bara Ivy go? And honestly, Bara Ivy goes on this list like just out of a sense of completeness.
I mean, he's perfectly serviceable, right? Like, we don't get a lot of him, but who am I'm thinking of...
Like, I don't have beef with him. He just kind of is a non-entity. I mean, he's not even the main monster in the episode. You know what I'm saying? Like, he shows up right at the end, and they fight him, and then that's it.
He reminds me of Torpedo Piranha from Jetman, who is just like another monster who shows up at the end just to die.
Yeah, he also reminds me a lot of Baron String, just for like aesthetic reasons.
Yeah. Well, there's a big gap between those two because Torpedo Piranha is at number 120, and Baron String is actually fairly high still, I think.
No, he's at 102.
Oh, is he? Okay.
Yeah. So yeah, I think right in the space of Torpedo Piranha. It's actually pretty low on the bottom of the list, but yeah. So okay, I would actually probably. I'm thinking Cherry Blossom Viscount, Voice Dimension, Torpedo Piranha.
Didn't we just put somebody else on the bottom of this list?
Yeah, General... Oh, wait, Barra Vacuum. Barra Vacuum. I was about to read the thing.
Oh, yes.
Yeah, Barra Vacuum is just above the very bottom because General Cactus is at the bottom where he will remain, is my guess. I would say Torpedo Piranha is cooler than Barra Ivy because his name is Torpedo Piranha.
That's true. Barra Ivy does have that cool sort of like... honestly, the only reason I like Barra Ivy is because visually he reminds me of those like Phalanx dudes from X-Men, but that's really just for me. Torpedo Piranha is cooler.
I was going to say, that's a very good point. But on the other hand, Matt, Torpedo's Piranha's name is Torpedo Piranha.
Yeah, and he didn't just have one Torpedo Piranha face. He had two Piranha faces, both of which shot torpedoes. So...
yeah, which I think puts him above Barra Ivy.
Listen, sometimes
Ivy comes in
sometimes we talk about the emotional heart of the characters, and sometimes it just comes down to how many Piranha faces you got.
It's a factor. It's a factor. So that puts Barra Ivy in at the new spot 121 on the Creature Royale.
And that, Dave, is going to do it for another episode for Your Eyes Ohranger. Before we finish up here, I'd like to remind you all that you can email the show at supersentaibrothers@gmail.com. If you want to get any updates on future episodes, or if you want to check out the things that we're talking about on Twitter, we are at Super Sentai Bros. If you like the show, please remember that shining in the iTunes review section, there are 5 stars. Please read and review on Apple Podcasts, or wherever it is that you find the show. The Super Sentai Brothers are a production of Retrograde Orbit Radio. To listen to any of the other great Retrograde Orbit Radio shows, you can do so at retrogradeorbitradio.com. Once again, we are the Super Sentai Brothers. I'm Matt.
I'm Dave.
And we'll see you next week for the greatest show on Earth.